everyone. Welcome to SJS Writes, one-on-one author interview series. I'm Shawnee Smith, founder of SJS Writes, and I am pleased to introduce you to our guest, Dr. Mary Russell, who will graciously share with us her latest book entitled Me, which is a charming picture book written for children ages 5 through 8 years old. In this book, children express the importance of their desire and need to see themselves and others represented in all walks of life. Dr. Russell is an educator whose vast experience led her to believe that children desire and deserve to be recognized, accepted, and sought after by others. Through her work, she has discovered that children and adults can look beyond environmental boundaries to see and strive for all of life's possibilities. Dr. Russell believes that the size of children's dreams is influenced by the extent of seeing themselves and others represented in various roles, as well as candidates for a variety of opportunities. Welcome, Dr. Russell, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Shawnee, for having me.
Dr. Russell, who or what inspired you to become a writer? And who or what influenced you to write a children's book?
My biggest inspiration to become a writer was is rooted in my early desire to read. I love reading. And early on, I realized the power words could have to transform, to inspire, and to change minds. And so that led me to write and also to speak. And the people who inspired me to write the book were my grandsons. I have two grandsons, and when they were younger and we were just out, they would see things and make comments about just people being different. And I started thinking at that point that I wanted them to be in a world where difference was celebrated instead of shunned.
And it's very important and timely in this environment because considering we live in a global
Yes,
environment these days with the internet.
yes.
So in your book, Me, it emphasizes the importance of children being seen. Why do you think that it's important for children to feel recognized and accepted?
There was a time in my life where I have felt that my voice wasn't heard. Therefore, I felt that it wasn't valued. We often have the tendency of valuing others' voices over our own. Think about a time in your life, Shawnee, whenever you felt that your voice wasn't heard. How did that make you feel? Just give us a few words to tell us how that made you feel.
It made me feel disconnected. I think that
Yes,
would be a better word, not really engaged in something that maybe I felt passionate about.
yes,
So it's a probably this environment will allow for discouragement and not
yes.
really wanting to pursue the things that you really want to pursue.
That's why I feel it's important for children to feel that their words matter and they have value and they feel they are seen. Because I have seen firsthand adults, children and adults, who feel despair. They feel angry. They feel as if they're invisible because people don't ask them or they don't listen to them when they do say something. And I just believe that children deserve better.
I agree. And then just to piggyback on what you're saying, it seems like if children aren't being recognized, they'll seek negative
Yes,
recognition and not positive recognition.
yes. I think it's been said that we all have this need to belong. We all want to belong. And when I say the word see, I am not only talking about the physical attributes.
Mhm.
See means you hear me, you feel me, you smell me,
Mhm.
and you see it, and it's okay. It's okay. But too often we allow that physical attribute to be what we see, and we make judgment on that. And so, for that reason, I am very passionate about helping people with their self awareness, and especially children.
It's true. Dr. Russell, various careers are mentioned in your book. What advice would you give to parents regarding career exploration for their children?
The advice I would give parents would begin with see yourself so that you can see your children. We cannot begin to understand and hear and see our children if we don't understand and see the things that motivate us, the filters we use to make decisions in our lives. Are we someone who come with a mindset of learning or judging? And if so, how will, if we're judging, then how is that going to impact us whenever we're deciding for our children or we're helping our children decide? I think oftentimes what we do as parents is we decide for the children instead of sitting back, listening to them. There are some people who actually say that by the tender age of 3 or 4, and maybe even earlier, kids give hints at what they want to do. You know, you have some kids who like to build things all the time or take things apart. Yeah, maybe that's an engineer.
Mhm.
But we tend to sometimes as parents think that we know what our children should be. And I say the advice would be sit back and understand yourself first
Mhm.
so that you can understand your children and see your children.
That's an important point because I know, like you said, a lot of parents, they want to live through their children, maybe have their children live out their dreams instead of the children living out their own dreams.
Yes.
That's a very timely.
And recognizing that children, oftentimes it's hard being parents. And it's
Mhm.
really hard. And one of the reasons makes it so hard is that we know because we've experienced the world. And so we know some of the pitfalls. We know based on our experience what could happen. But in today's world, the children's experience are going to be different from ours. They're going to be different from ours. It is our role as parents to lay down the foundation for children so that they can have something strong to stand up on. I say to parents, whenever you're preparing your children for careers, which to me means preparing them for life. Life is more than about a career. It's about being productive and peaceful and just enjoying having a happy life. Pepper them with questions. Hold them accountable because the world will. Help them to see that just because something or someone is different does not mean that they are faulty. When you, Shawnee, hear the word different, what are some words that come to your mind?
The first word is unique.
Unique? Unique.
Next word is eclectic.
Yes. And then some people say the word that comes to their mind would be, ooh, you know, because we look at what we do as being normal. We look at what we do as being the way it should be done. But
Mhm.
in actuality, the decisions and our behaviors often are guided by personal filters that we have made over the years. And oftentimes our decisions and the way we view the world, we view it because of our personal experiences.
Mhm.
Your experiences are different from my experiences. So it's possible that we can see the same situation or hear the same phrase and we interpret it totally different. Oftentimes when we look at the communication problems or the problems that people have in the world, whether it's in their families or whether it's friends, we often find that the root of those things is because somebody is looking at something differently from what other people are doing. So I say to prepare our children, dare them to be different because we are different. Dare them to explore their differences and see how those differences can be used in their voice and give them opportunities to share their thoughts. What do you think? Why do you say that? Tell me more, you know, and expose him to people in different careers. And careers oftentimes does not mean, when we talk about careers, we don't always mean going to school or going to get degrees.
Mhm.
I have met and coached many adults who are not content with what they're doing in life
Mhm.
because it's not what they want to do. I coached a man who had been in his career 30 some years. He was getting ready to retire, and he was really bitter, very, very bitter. And I asked him, I said, "What's going on?" And he said to me, "I never wanted to do this job." 30 some years of his life. How many of us? I don't want any other child to grow up
Mhm.
feeling that way. And so I asked him, I said, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "I've always wanted to work on bicycles."
Um,
This is a guy who had several degrees.
mhm.
He wanted to work on bicycles. And I said, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "Well, why can't you do that now?" And he said, "Well, I never thought about that." He said, "I'm like 60 some years old." So, you know, so it's about oftentimes when I've asked people, Shawnee, in the past, when I'm coaching or when I'm doing speeches or presenting with people, I often ask them, "Are you doing what you thought you would be doing when you were younger?" 90 some percent of people say no. And then I ask them to share the reason why. And 90 some of the time, life happens.
Mhm.
So, how do we help kids to understand that where we end up, whether it's a career or where we end up in life, largely is dependent on the decisions we make. So, as parents, how can we help kids navigate the world of decision making, which means choices?
Right.
This means choices. And that is one of the reasons I say in helping kids develop what it is they want to be, then as early as you can, hold them accountable.
Mhm.
Hold them accountable and allow them to know that they're making choices. Choices either will take them closer to what they want or further away. It's not neutral. And so sometimes we're going to make choices. Sometimes they're going to make choices that take them further away. What have we provided for them that they can use to correct that path?
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, what do you think about once kids get older and they get around their peers? Do you think that teaching them to accept differences will be key to avoiding the pitfalls of peer pressure?
I think teaching them first to understand themselves.
Mhm.
Understand To understand me, you have to understand yourself. And that means understanding and actually seeing the good, bad, and the ugly that we all have in us. And understanding that people are different. People are different. And there will be an accountability for your decisions you make. And I think that the best we can do for parents, because at a point, kids make their own decision.
Sure.
It's about getting to the point where you've laid a foundation where you can say to that child, you know what you need to do. I've given you all I can
Mhm.
to help you with this. Now it's your time. Because oftentimes parents will say, or kids will say, "What should I do?" And then parents will try to tell them what to do. I think that if you've laid the foundation for your children, which means that at some point you're going to have to trust them.
Mhm.
And when that is, depends on your child. Different children are different. And how you do that depends on your style of doing that. But it's about recognizing that peer pressure is real. Social media is real. The number of kids who are bullied now and who are committing suicide or have mental conditions because of that peer pressure that goes beyond now the kids who come to your house, so you go to theirs. It could be someone in another country. So as a parent, how do you, because you can't be with them 24/7. How do you, from the time or even before they're born, prepare them to go out in that world? And are they going to make mistakes? Yes.
Sure.
We're adults and we still make them. But what tools have we provided for them so they within themselves, an alarm bell will go off and at least they would think, maybe I shouldn't do this. And if most of us are honest, Shanique,
Mhm.
most of us honest, we will have to admit that there were times we went against what our parents had told us. And I think sometimes that's what frightens us as parents, because we don't know what they're going to do.
Mhm.
But I do believe that if we lay that foundation, and that foundation rich in child feeling that they're valued and they're important, and their voice is just as important as any other voice. Their difference doesn't make them an anomaly. Well, it does make them an anomaly, but it's not a bad thing. I always say that difference isn't good or bad. Sometimes it's just different.
Right.
How do we get them to not be so group thinking or group thinkers?
Mhm.
You know, think as a group. No, think as an individual. What do you think? And often now, kids will say, well, my friend, what do you think? What do you think? Okay, what if it doesn't? What do you hope is going to happen from this? What if it doesn't?
It's true.
Because at the end of the day, whatever consequences are out there, good or bad, that child is going to have to experience that. And the sooner we get them to understand that, then I think we're helping them get on the path to select what is the best thing for them.
Powerful. In your book, Me, there is a diverse representation of children. Why do you think that children between the ages of 5 to 8 years old need to learn about diversity?
I think children learn about diversity way before 5 to 8. 5 to 8, I wrote the book because I wanted children to be able to read it and sense it and understand it. Children less than 5, maybe some 4-year-olds can,
Mhm.
but less than that, I think that it would require some assistance with them to even try to understand it. But we need to remember that children live diversity every single day. They learn about diversity. They just don't understand it. I'm saying as parents, what can we do to help them benefit from this diverse world? Even if a child is in a family and there's more than that person in that family, there's diversity there. Diversity is more than that physical attribute. Diversity is diversity of thought, it's diversity of behavior. So I think that we need to broaden our conversation when it comes to diversity and recognize that before a child is brought into this world, he's learning about diversity. Some say that children can hear while they're in the mom's womb.
It's true.
They're exposed to diversity. And I think as adults, because of the narrow understanding of view that we have a diversity, it makes it hard to talk about. Because I think too often we look at it like, okay, if we talk about this, then we're going to have to get into this topic. And that's just uncomfortable. I don't want my child to feel any kind of way or no child to feel any kind of way. When actuality, when we embrace diversity, all we're doing is embracing the difference, the thing that makes us unique. And recognizing and the diversity, one of the hardest part of the book was getting with the illustrator and understanding how the representation of the children. I wanted to get as many samples of diversity as possible. I thought about definitely all the physical thing, because that's pretty much
Mhm.
what you're going to see when you get into a book such as this. But I also thought about the disabilities.
Mhm.
You know, too often, and like 5 to 8, children at a younger age, I remember listening something once about this man who's in a wheelchair. And he said he really appreciated children more than adults, because children would just look at him and accept the fact he's in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
whereas adults pretend they don't see him.
Right.
So my thing is, we've got to broaden our understanding of diversity. And I think when we do that, it makes it easier to talk about. It makes it really easy to talk about. It makes it easier for really young kids to understand that, yes, her hair is red.
Mhm.
You know, they would say that. And think about it. Kids at a young age have blocks. They're different shapes, different colors. So that in itself is a diversity set of blocks. So we can start with that
Mhm.
and say people are just different, not good or bad or different. There's no one, I call it the less than greater than. We have some people who are made to feel that they're less than. No child should feel less than. No adult should feel less than. In the same sense, no child should feel greater than. No adult should feel greater than. That's what happens. And that's why when some people began to feel as if they're invisible, because there are people in the world who really believe and need to feel that they're greater than someone else. And there are people who come with that deficit where they've led to believe that they are less than, or there's someone out there greater than them.
Mhm.
And so this goes to the root of the book with kids saying, see me, whether I want to be whatever, see me. And when you see the authentic self, then see the value that comes from that authentic self. Now, that authentic self and that value doesn't mean that it's going to be a value that is necessary or needed in every situation. And it's about helping kids understand that. I love tennis, but I'm sorry. I do not play well enough. I have no desire to want to play well enough to compete to the level that a pro tennis person would do.
Mhm.
You know, I love to write. I love to read. I love to speak, but not on all topics. I don't like reading all books. I don't like writing about all things. So it's about understanding what you have to offer, your authentic self has to offer, where is it valued? Because not every place, not every career, what you have, if you're someone who is or a detail oriented, you're just detail. If you find a career that doesn't require, doesn't respect, or doesn't need that kind of detail, or if you find a, then you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be frustrated. On the flip side, if you're someone who creative and you don't like the rules, if you find a career where it's a regulated environment, there are going to be rules. And so if I have a parent who's telling me, I want you to be an engineer, a quality control engineer, but I'm someone who I feel like it's straitjacket to be in a rule environment. If I follow your advice, I'm going to be miserable. And it's like sometimes we're setting people up to not be successful. And most kids like to please their parents. They will listen to their parents. So my message to the parents is to understand yourself first and understand the filters that you use to make your decisions. Then look at your child and see that child for who they are, not who you want them to be. And just go from there.
Fantastic. How can your book be used as a tool for parents and educators to introduce the topic of diversity?
I am one I've always believed that parents and teachers are the only group who have as their sole responsibility is to prepare children to be productive, learning, contributing adults. Parents, first teacher, and will be the last teacher. A teacher is just there for a short period of time. And sometimes teachers have to play the role of parents. So I say to use this book, what I would recommend that people do, whether you're in the parent role or you're in the teacher role, is to use the book to start a conversation about asking kids, what do you want to be? Even before you pull out the book. When you grow up, what do you want to be? When I was a teacher, and I was a teacher for at least for about 10 years in the classroom, um, that was one of the things I would start asking the kids every year, beginning of the year. Then we would start talking about what it would take to get a vet. And what about that profession that makes you want to be that? Some kids don't know. So I say use it to start the conversation, to plant the seed, but also use it. Once I was talking to a young lady about 12 years old a few weeks ago, and we were talking, and she was talking about how much she loves animals. And I said, really? She said, yes, I love animals. I just love all type animals. And then we started talking about career goals. What do you want to be? And she really had no clue. I said, have you ever thought about being a vet?
Mhm.
She said, a vet? And I said, yes. I said, vets and animals. And I said, and she said, well, I don't know. Maybe I would like that. And I said to her, well, talk to your parents about going to visit a vet and talk with the vet about what it takes to be a vet and ask him if you could shadow him.
Mhm.
So to me, it's about starting the conversation, and with parents and with adults in the situation, start the conversation with the book and then sit back and listen to the children and recognize that most kids are limited into the different careers that are out there. New careers are being created every single day. So the best thing we can do with our kids is prepare them to be curious, prepare them to ask questions, prepare them to realize that in this world, it's going to be lifelong learning. You're going to have to be willing to morph and change and stay ahead of the curve and all. But I say use the book as a conversation starter. And as adults, use it to sit back and say, how am I providing what's needed for these children to begin thinking about whatever? Because I was reading not too long ago that kids born today will probably have 5 different careers in their lifetime. And those things are changing. So how do we prepare them for that? Their world's going to look so different from our world. It's looking different now. So how can we use our conversation? And if this book, use it as a conversation starter, how can we use this to prepare them for a world that we can't even imagine? AI today. What is the conversation? How do we allow kids to use this? Because according to the experts, they're using it to do their homework and assignments. So how do we allow them to use this and continue to encourage them to be critical thinkers, to encourage them to think out of the box, to encourage them to use that difference that they have to catapult forward into whatever it is that they want to be or they decide to be. And it's okay to change their mind, but don't help kids understand that if you're going to change your mind about what your dream is, let it be because you changed your mind, not someone else. And again, that takes us helping kids to understand and see themselves. If you don't see yourself, it's going to be hard for me to see you. How can we show up as the adults in the lives of kids? How can we show up to ensure that their voices are heard, that their self-esteem is high, and they realize that they have something to contribute to the world, to their friends, to their families, but other people do too. So how do we, and to me, that is the lesson with all of it. And that's why I wanted all those diverse children, as many as I could get, because I wanted every child to be able to look at that book and see something that looked like them.
So true. What current or upcoming projects or events would you like to share with the audience?
I am in the process of doing many things. Um, Book signing, process of scheduling book signing. In the future, I'm going to have a newsletter, podcast, blog, webpage, and speaking engagements and writing. I will continue to write and whatnot. So, um, again, this is the future, near future. These are my plans and all. And people on the screen, I have my handler, my Instagram handle, which is at Mary Russell 9844. They can follow me there. And also, there's a website, the 3Vs, 5 at gmail.com. If they're interested in my newsletter or interested in me coming to speak or coach, then they can reach out to me on that email address. And the book is on Amazon, so amazon.com. If you type in Dr. Mary H. Russell, it will pop up.
Dr. Russell, thank you so much. After the interview is over, I'll be sure to link all of your contact information for the viewers so they can keep in contact with you and definitely purchase the book. Me will not be disappointed.
Thank you, Shawnee, for this time and this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.